Hi, my name is Dr. Adam Watkins. I'm a clinical assistant professor in the Honors College and the director of the Honors Mentor Program, and I'm honored to be here today to talk with you about the fundamentals of collaboration and leadership. Oftentimes when we think about great leadership, we tend to think about it from a very individualistic perspective. We think about great people and the extraordinary things that those individuals have accomplished. But the reality of strong leadership is grounded in good collaboration. Whether it's the director of a movie, the mayor of a town, the head of a laboratory, the success of the leader oftentimes depends on their ability to work effectively with others. So collaboration isn't just important for leaders, it's fundamental to so much of what we do, especially in our careers, and that's why it's so important for college students. The truth is people don't put much thought into their ability to collaborate well with others. Rather than think critically about the team dynamic that they're in, they focus very narrowly on the task at hand, on the project that they're working on. And the problem with that kind of strategy is that it very often leads to setbacks. It ends up being more inefficient. People within the group become dissatisfied, there's discord, and ultimately the product that the group creates, the end result of their work together, isn't really reflective of the true potential of the group. If we want to get the most out of our work with other people, we have to be thoughtful and deliberate in our collaboration strategies. Psychological safety is considered by many experts to be the most essential ingredient in good collaboration. Psychological safety describes a team culture that is conducive to interpersonal and intellectual risk-taking. In other words, a really healthy team culture is one in which people feel like they can be themselves. They can offer praise to each other, they can offer different perspectives, they can offer even their craziest ideas, and they know that their group members are going to hear them out and respect what they have to say.
There's a couple things that go into psychological safety, and some of the key ones that we found are group norms, equitable participation, and encouraging vulnerability. So group norms is basically the typical way of engaging with groups, the routine. Some groups like to get right down to business, other groups like to chat a little bit, some like to get together outside of group time to get things done. But what's really important about group norms is that it works for everybody. So some strategies for developing group norms include either making like a covenant or a code of conduct, but in general it just needs to be something that you can hold everyone accountable to and that everybody agrees on. Equitable participation, there's research that shows that a group's collective IQ and then their intellectual abilities is higher when everybody participates equitably. This is because you are getting knowledge and skills and ideas from everyone within the group. Some strategies for equitable participation include going around in a circle and having everyone contribute to a thought, taking a moment to reflect on what's happening and then having everyone share, and making sure you're not saying like any insider jokes or anything that make people feel like they can't participate because they don't feel involved is really important. Encouraging vulnerability helps with a group because it helps them become more comfortable with each other, so it leads back into group norms and equitable participation. The low levels of vulnerability helps people feel like they can participate more and they feel more comfortable within the group. So some strategies for encouraging vulnerability include icebreakers such as doing highs and lows and acknowledging common challenges.
In a team setting, good communication means so much more than just speaking well or speaking often. Really good communicators are first and foremost good listeners who pay special attention to the verbal and nonverbal messages of the other people around them. Groups that communicate effectively are ones that are thoughtful and deliberate in selecting communication strategies that work for the given situation.
One of the elements of good communication would be active listening. And good active listening involves not only focusing on the words that somebody's saying, but really focusing on the whole person and their body language or tone of voice. Giving cues to the speaker, letting them know that you're actually listening to what they're saying, and confirming what you've heard. Another aspect of good communication would be being deliberate. And being deliberate involves the way you're phrasing and setting up your communication techniques that fit the situation most. Some types of collaboration work best when you can write ideas out or draw them out on a board, and it can help foster a shared understanding and helps with accountability.
Each person brings something different to the group, whether that's a different cultural background, different personal histories, different talents, different knowledge. And rather than ignore or try to gloss over those differences, teams should really embrace them. The first step to that is just coming to an understanding that each person in the group is going to play a different role in the team's success. From there, teams can do well to identify specific roles that people can play, and those roles help individuals better understand how they fit into the team and understand their purpose within the team. Those roles work best when they address a specific team need and when they're based on the talents, the skills, and the interests of the individual team members.
People always bring something unique and interesting to the table, and it's really important to identify roles that both have to do with people's strengths as well as their interests. And so assessing those early on and assigning roles that are around people's interests are really key in developing good, strong group roles. And so 2 strategies to do that is 1, just paying attention to what people's interests are within the group discussion, what roles they typically take in a conversation, and in a group project even. And another one is just having candid conversations with people throughout your time with them in a group. Roles in groups are super important, but if they're not achieving some kind of a need within that group, it kind of destroys the whole point of it. It makes the group confused, it makes it difficult to do work within the group. And so a couple of strategies to really assign these roles in a way that's meaningful and really achieves a group need is to be thinking visually about what does the group need, how do we really facilitate that, and then what are the strengths within our group. So really pulling on some of the interests and strengths from earlier and putting those together to start assigning roles that would actually achieve something for the group. And so one of the really good approaches, another good strategy, is if a group member is overly dominant in a group, assigning them a role that kind of facilitates them bringing up other students. And so really taking advantage of that dominant personality to start bringing more shy students to the foreground.
Consensus means having a shared understanding about the purpose, the goals, and even the best strategies for achieving those goals within the group. That being said, consensus doesn't mean agreeing all the time. Groups disagree on things, and that disagreement can actually be really healthy. Moments of disagreement can help a team recognize where there may be gaps in their shared understanding about their purpose or about their key goals. And oftentimes, those disagreements end up leading to better ideas, better strategies, and ultimately a better final result.
One of the important elements of good consensus is a shared sense of purpose. So that can include why are we here, or what are the goals that we want with working in this group. It's important to have a shared sense of purpose because with this we can identify the larger goals that we want to work towards as a group. Some of the important strategies for a shared sense of purpose is writing up a statement of purpose with your group. Another important strategy is before the project, take a moment to define the major goals. Is your progress right now relating to the goals that you've set aside? When we're making group decisions, you should consider developing strategies to make decisions as a group. It's really important that everybody should have a voice in the decision-making process, but during this process, it's also important that you relate your decisions to the larger goals of the group. It may sound intuitive, but for key decisions, make sure everybody's heard in this process. And second, maybe make a map of your project. So identify the milestones, and that will aid in making decisions together. And finally, it's important that you be an advocate for people who aren't being heard in the decision-making process. So be vigilant about who's speaking and who's maybe being a little left out, and what you can do is you can make them heard or repeat what they said. Checking in and managing conflict is an important part of collaboration. So when we are doing this, it is important first to accept conflict because this can lead to creative outputs in the group, and to notice conflict that will start with touching base and seeing if there is disagreement. And if there is disagreement in the group, it is important to allow everyone to be heard when you are discussing this agreement.